Hi, welcome to another edition of Talking Trees. I'm R.J. Laverne with the Davey Tree Expert Company. And today's topic is actually a question. And the question is, when is it time to remove a landscape tree? Well, to find the answer, let's go look at some trees. Well, it's useful to think of trees as coming in two varieties. They're either assets or they're liabilities. As we know, all trees are living organisms. And as long as they stay structurally sound and growing vigorously, they can remain as assets to the property. So how do we know when the tree has crossed that line between being an asset to the property and it's now become a liability? Well, there's all sorts of signs and symptoms that we can look at with trees that tell us whether the tree is growing vigorously, whether it's healthy, or whether it's got some structural problems that maybe tell us it's time to remove the tree. So I've done a complete visual inspection from the ground on this tree, and I've found some problems that tell us, well, maybe it's approaching that time. The first thing that I'm going to look at when I'm inspecting the tree is what's happening with the roots. And on this tree, I don't see any problems that would indicate that we've got root decay or that there's been previous damage to the roots, such as the ground heaving up or signs of decay-producing fungi that might reveal themselves as mushrooms in the ground. So from the root standpoint, I think this tree is okay. Then I'm going to look up to what's happening with the root collar. And here we can see, if I pull away some of the ground cover, that we've got some evidence of decay in the tree. The bark is coming off, and we can see that there is some initial signs of decay with the tree. And if I probe the root collar in the area, I might find some other indicators of loose bark or cracks that might reveal that we have a decay problem associated with the base of the tree. The trunk in this case looks to be fairly solid, but the swelling on the outside of the tree indicates to me that there may be some advanced decay in the trunk of the tree. And to really reveal that, I can use a probe such as a resistograph that allows me to probe into the tree and map out the decay and the extent of the structural problem there. The biggest problems associated with this tree, and the story that tells me that maybe it's time that the tree comes down, is in the uppermost reaches of the crown. As I back away from the tree and look up, I can tell that the majority of this tree crown is already dead. There's lots of hanging dead branches that are a threat to fall down at any time. And I can tell that a lot of the major branches are already dead because the bark has peeled away from the limb, and there are no fine twigs that have living buds at the end of those branches. And with only about 1/4 of the living crown supporting the rest of the tree, this tree is clearly telling us that it's on a state of decline. And no matter what we do to the tree, it's going to die in the not too distant future. As homeowners, we tend to fall in love with our trees. And why not? When they get to be this big and this mature, they provide lots of benefits. They're beautiful to look at, they give us shade in the summertime, but we have to remember they're living organisms, and sooner or later they decline and eventually die. So how do we know when it's time to remove a tree from the landscape? How do we know when it's no longer an asset and it's become a liability? Well, I hope we've given you some tips today on how to do visual inspections of your landscape trees. If you have any suspicion that the tree is starting to struggle, that's the time to contact a qualified professional arborist. They can do a full inspection of your tree and tell you if it's still vigorous and healthy or whether there are structural defects that may mean it's time for the tree to be removed. Well, that's it for this edition of Talking Trees. I'm R.J. Laverne from the Davey Tree Expert Company. Join us next time.